It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Anna Hersh. Your maiden name was Rochwerger. We're here in your beautiful home in Jerusalem, and you were living for many years in Sydney in Australia.
I spent my whole life, most of my life, because as a child, I'm born in 1933. So I was a child when the war started, and somehow I feel when the war finished, I feel I didn't have very much of a youth.
And you were born in Brussels, in Belgium.
I was born in Brussels, but in Brussels you didn't get nationality. Became a Belgian citizen. People got, after the war in the 1950s, they gave people who were born in Belgium, they gave citizenship. But my parents and my brother and I were already in Australia, and I was happy having an Australian citizenship.
So Anna, can you just tell us a little bit about your parents and your grandparents?
My grandparents on my mother's side, I never knew. They passed away. They were from Poland, from Lodz. And my grandparents from my father's side, I knew my grandmother. I met her a few times because my father took me to Poland to visit them. And my grandfather I met twice. I know that I went. My grandmother from my father's side I met quite a few times, and she came when my brother was born in 1937. She came to Belgium to visit. So I met her.
And do you have memories
in Belgium?
Do you have memories of your?
I have memory of both of them, of my grandfather and my. I was spoiled. You can't imagine. I was only a little girl when I went. I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I know that I was spoiled from them. You can't imagine. I was the only. My father was the oldest grandchild who lived in Brussels, and he wasn't. So you can imagine the first grandchild that they didn't see. How I got spoiled.
And Anna, why did he decide to go to Belgium?
Because he was supposed to go to the Polish army, and he had no intention of going. And he got to Belgium legally, because people smuggled themselves to Belgium, to Europe but he got, I don't know how, he got permission. He was there in Belgium legally. When my mother came, she had a brother who lived in Belgium already, and she came to him because her father had passed away and her mother was by herself, and she thought she'd be better off in Brussels.
So we have a beautiful picture of your parents, and they met in Belgium,
Brussels.
In Brussels. And they got married in...
They got married in Brussels.
And did you come from a traditional home?
You can see my grandparents.
They were very
on my
religious.
Mother's side. You can see they're not a traditional, a very, very religious home. My grandparents from my father's side were very traditional, not a little bit, but not as religious as what my mother's side was, where they always said they would never have got married if they had met in Bonn, because they were very, very different.
And your home, was it a very traditional home?
Yeah. Most people in Brussels were very, very religious, lived in Antwerp, and the rest somehow in Belgium, we lived in the street we lived, Rue de l'Anglante, was that we had a shul in our street.
And do you remember the shul, going to shul? And
because as children we kept on running Yontif to shul.
And did you go to a Jewish kindergarten or a primary?
I don't think so. I know I went to school, to a non-religious school. There was no religious school as far as I know in Brussels. There was religious schools in Antwerp, but I don't know if there was a religious school before the war I'm talking about.
And Anna, can I ask, what is your earliest memories growing up in Brussels?
In your Brussels? We lived in a 2-floor house, like a smallish house, and there was, on top of us, there was a young girl which was 2 years older than me, and we used to play together. That's about, I remember things from after when the war started, but otherwise I don't.
But you had a happy childhood growing up?
Till I was, till the war started, yes. After that we were in trouble. First of all, we had to start wearing, I went to school, I had to wear Mugundovit, the yellow star. And then slowly they stopped people going to school. When they first came, everybody went to school. Then it started, slowly the Jews weren't allowed to go to school. And then that was.
And do you remember having to wear the yellow star?
You had to wear the star, and what we used to do is cover, it had a jacket or I don't know. I know that I covered it with, you weren't allowed to cover it, but people wore jackets and things, and it covered it. So that's about, I remember till 1942, we were more or less, things got cut. The butcher wasn't allowed, the kosher meat from the butcher wasn't kosher. Because I remember my father saying, why are you paying more for the kosher, the meat? You know it's not kosher anymore. But that's how the thing was.
And can I ask, what did your father do for a living?
My father was a tailor, and that's how I'm alive. Because when we were in 1942, my mother decided we're not going to live in the street we were living, because the whole street was more Jewish than Goyim. And not only our street, but we lived, the houses were in how would you call it? Like a square, and the houses were inside. And in 1942, my mother decided we're not going to live here, stay here. And she went and we moved out. And you won't believe it, we are only alive, my brother and I, and my parents. Because of that, my mother decided we're not staying here. And she went and looked for a flat. outside of where we were living. And I think about the same week, the Germans came and closed that thing and took all the people off. My father's brother was supposed to come with us, but he was also a tailor, and he was supposed to finish some work. So he was taken away.
And do you remember when the Germans invaded Belgium?
When the Germans were there, I was nearly at the end, in about 40, it must have been about 43 or 44, because we finished the war in 44. And we decided, my parents, I'd better make it a long thing, I can't. My mother had the brother that she came thing, and they went together. I don't know how they decided to live in the same house. Now my uncle found a small house where a woman was living by herself, a Goyish woman, and she took us in. We lived there, the four of us, like my brother and my parents, my uncle and my auntie couldn't have a child in 1942. That's when the trouble started. And her sister, which was married without children, also lived in that house. That house was supposed to be for one woman by herself. Maybe she had a boyfriend, or I don't know. But we lived in the one house, all of us.
Do you remember the name of the suburb or where you were staying?
Yeah. You won't believe it. As a child, I wrote down all the places we lived in. Hey, come on. Why don't you open here?
This is from your...
That's my identity card.
And you wrote down... Can you read the places
Sure.
there? This is incredible.
I lived before the war, Rue de l'Anglante. You want it spelled?
No, it's fine.
And then we lived in Ettenberg, which was outside of the city, to a few places. In Ettenberg, in Jules, and then in Molenbeek. And then after the war, we lived in Jules.
And can I ask you, Anna, during the war, were you in hiding or could you...
We were in hiding. In hiding. My father didn't go out for the 2 years because he looked, you could tell he was a Jew.
I'm just going to show the picture again. You could see, and your mother as well, they looked Jewish,
Yeah. That's why my mother didn't look Jewish. She was smallish and she was blonde. And what she did, she washed her hair with vinegar, and that made her hair even lighter. And she had the imagination she won't be... That's after the war.
So who is in the picture? That's your mother?
My brother and me.
And when was your brother born?
Sorry?
Your brother, when was he born?
My brother is younger than me. He was born now in 1937 in Brussels. And he also didn't become a Belgian citizen.
And his name, your brother's name?
My brother is in Sam, is in Sydney. He's married. That's my brother. And that's how you can see it's already grown up. That's me and my brother.
And this is after the war.
Yeah. All these pictures are from after the war.
And can I ask, during the war, how did your parents make a living? How did you have money to buy
My father
food?
was sitting and sewing. What happened, that woman who we lived in, she went to the place that my father was working, and they must have known, they were giving work to my father. That woman took her to the factory, and that's how we lived.
Do you remember?
From the money from there, we had money. I mean, we didn't have money, but
To survive.
we had money to survive.
Do you remember
to be able to? We had no passport. We had nothing, so we had to pay everything on black market. So
And Anna, do you remember the name of the lady that you stayed with?
no, I've been trying to remember.
She was a very righteous woman.
Yeah.
She endangered her life.
She must have done it for money, but
It was very dangerous what she was doing.
very dangerous. If we were taken, she would have been taken as well. But I think she had company in the building she had, where she was. I don't know, I imagine things. You were talking about an 8-year-old child. So I had imagination, and I still have that same imagination of what. But before we went there, we went to my mother. In Yiddish, you say "weggegeben." She gave us away to different people a few times, and then she took us back because she started worrying that we would be taken and she would be left, or the other way around. And she gave us to a few times. She gave us away. When we heard of children being taken from convents and from places, and the parents were alive, my mother took us back home so that one of us shouldn't be left.
And when you were in hiding or in this home, what did you do during the day?
That's exactly it. Go make my parents crazy. And I mean it. Can you imagine children must have been at least for a year by themselves?
Could you go out?
I could read, or I'll tell you what happened when we did go out. What happened is, as children, we fought. I don't know if fought or screamed.
You and Uncle Sam
And Sam.
So explain who they were.
I mean, my auntie's little one was by then already a couple of years old.
What was her name? Do you remember?
Who, my auntie, Bella.
And her daughter?
Gerlitsky. The same as my mother's maiden name, because she married my uncle, Gerlitsky. And that's what we did. We fought. I remember my mother saying, if you're not quiet, because it was school days, the Germans will come and take us away. I remember, like, she would stand there telling me.
But what could you read? Could you do?
I could read already, and I read a lot, and I'm still reading a lot. I'm eating books, I'm not reading. I think that kept me going, but my brother didn't. He couldn't read yet. He was born in 37. He was 5 years old when we went into hiding.
And did you play games together, or?
I don't think so. I don't remember games. We played cards. I looked at the grown-ups playing cards. They used to play cards. But, you know, the family, my uncle and my auntie's sister's husband. But that I can
And Anna,
remember.
did you have enough food to eat, or was it, did you go hungry ever?
It must have been already 1940, at the end of 43 or 44. They decided, the two women, my mother and my auntie, to take us out for a walk. And we had a walk, I'll tell you. The German car stopped in front of us. And because they stopped the car, and I tell you, I can still see them jumping out of the car, and my brother started screaming because he saw the Germans were there. But I mean screaming that everybody in the street we were walking came up to the windows looking what a child is. I don't even say it screaming. There must be another word for it.
Hysterical.
He could see the Germans there, which my mother had been screaming, they're going to arrest us. And why? There were a few of them in the car. There wasn't room in the car, I suppose, to take all of us. They let us go. And we came home, my mother said, a Jewish man arrested us, not stopped us. And my father said all the Italians looked like us. Later on, we found out that the main person who was arresting Jews was a Jew. And as far as I think we were arrested by him. And he said, let them go, we have no room. He must have had, we were 3 children and 2 women.
It's a miracle. It's an incredible miracle. And they never came back. They could have come back
We didn't want the men to be taken away, so we kept on walking around for a long time and went in the street. We were frightened that somebody went with us. We couldn't believe ourselves. At least I didn't think, but my mother and my auntie couldn't believe that we let us go. We must be one of the only people in the whole of Belgium who must have got let out. They didn't, and I think one of the reasons was there was no room in the car. There was a lot of German in uniform, and he was not in uniform.
And Anna, the neighbors, they didn't suspect that there were Jews in the neighborhood?
After the war, the place we were living, you know, in Europe, there is a place where you live on the street level. We were, the 4 of us were living in those 2 rooms. And after the war, they came knocking at the door. You can come out now. We liberated.
So people knew?
People, not only that, we had people in black uniform. You know, I don't know if you know, people who were working with the Germans were in black uniform. And they lived in our street. We didn't know that. We would have run 10 miles away. But no.
That's amazing. And Anna, during this time, what did you do for food? Or
That's what I said. My mother went shopping in money,
from the table?
black money that my father was earning. And that was also illegally because he was working illegally.
And did you ever go hungry, or was there always enough
I
food?
don't remember being hungry. I know that my brother he still is, he's over 6 foot, he's very tall. And I know that as a child he was sick a lot and he needed, and I was a bit jealous sometimes that he was getting an orange or an apple and I didn't. I understand now, but I didn't understand it then, why he was getting. But otherwise, that's how we lived. My mother went out, there was a shop around the corner, which she went shopping in.
And when you were staying in this, could you look outside the window?
We could see people walking. You see it in the pictures. You see the legs walking, the feet, not the body, but the legs walking. I still now, when I don't like going, I don't know anymore, but to be in a bus or a train, and you could see, you were up the top and you could see I hated it. I had to be down the bottom. Because I remember those legs going through. Yeah.
And at night, could you not go outside at night?
We were children. We wouldn't go out at night. And they certainly wouldn't go out. Why take chances? My father didn't go out the 2 years that he never went out.
So he never had the sun, he never...
I mean, we had that parterre, it's called, was a garden outside of it. It wasn't a garden, it was a sort of a garden. And I suppose he went out during the day or at night, I don't know. I don't remember them. The only time I remember being in the street walking is when we were arrested. Otherwise, I don't remember ever walking.
And Anna, do you remember any of the neighbors? Did they knock on the door? Or?
Before, no. That woman, I remember that woman being there. But otherwise, nobody. Look, don't forget, if the people next door knew that we were there was money on our
They could get a reward.
yeah. And even if they did, so they thought somebody else is going to do it. But we didn't. And the thing is, now, after a year, when things settled down, it started that people started thanking the people who hid us. But when you first came out, I don't think people even thought of thanking those people. Now, you should have. But I don't think it was like now the people who are...
What do you remember of the day when somebody knocked on to say you can come out?
I don't know. It was time to get out.
Did you feel very relieved?
If people went out, were in the streets and things, but I don't... You're not talking about a grown-up. You're talking a child who hadn't been to school for 2 years.
And when your father came outside, having been inside for 2 years, it's unbelievable.
We had to find work straight away. He had to find work, and
This was in 44, because Belgium was
because
liberated.
we were liberated. We were liberated when my husband finished up in camp. My husband only went to camp in late 44, early 44. He was in the ghetto in Lodge till 43. I know that I always felt funny that I was liberated when he only started really suffering. I mean, in the ghetto wasn't a pleasure, but he was with his mother and his sister and his father. You don't want to hear my husband's.
No, it's amazing. So when you were liberated, that's when his suffering started,
Yeah.
even more.
He was taking. They took people out from the ghetto, from the larger ghetto.
And do you remember the foreign army that liberated you?
Sorry,
Who liberated in
I think the Americans.
did you see the soldiers?
Yeah. The soldiers were going one way and the Germans were going the other way. We lived not far in the outside of the city. Where we were was a big, like, traffic going this way and traffic going, and in the middle there was flowers. And I remember everybody was looking at them. The Germans going one way and the American coming in this way.
And was there ever bombing? Do you remember there was bombing?
Yes.
And you remember the bombing?
Yeah, I told my husband he was making the bombs which were falling on us, and I kept on telling him he was making the one, what they call the V1 and the V2.
And when was the bombing? Was it mainly during the night or during the day?
No, the ones I remember, they were falling where we were living. They were bombing the city. That's the one I remember.
And were there many buildings or apartments that were destroyed?
It was mostly things destroyed. The Belgians didn't fight against thing, so there wasn't much. But there's a lot of things that I don't remember. I remember parts, let's say, where I was given to a person. I remember being with that person, but I remember being with that person once, and I don't remember being with people with Goyim.
Were you together with your brother when you were...
I was always with my brother. Not only my brother, but my little cousin.
And what was your cousin's name?
Sammy Gerlitsky, because he was my uncle's child. They were very close, my mother and her brother. They were a very big family, an Orthodox family, because she had, at that stage I couldn't understand it, but she had a sister which had a child which was older than my mother. And I could never understand how she could have a niece which was older than her. Yeah.
And Anna, on the day of the liberation,
The day of liberation.
What do you
I
remember on
think-
that day? Coming out of the apartment.
I don't know. I remember being in the streets, and the street, everybody was screaming, jumping, and music playing, and there's people who were in black uniform weren't in black uniform anymore, and I don't know. It was. I don't think we as children realized what was. That we were free. First of all, my parents didn't want us to run around in the street because everybody was drunk. I don't know from where they took drinks, but everybody seemed to be drunk. I mean, they were also liberated, the Belgian people. Don't forget that it was a war, and they had 4 years of it.
And from there, where did you go after the liberation? Did you go to,
Where
back to the...
we went, my parents went to look straight away to be in the city. I don't know why, but I remember them. We moved back into Brussels itself.
In the Jewish area? Or?
Yeah, it was a Jewish area. It was, but not where we lived. They must have left some of the things, because the things which came back to the house were the things we had in the place before the war. So they must have left it. That's how we got all the pictures.
Because it's incredible that you have, these are the original pictures.
That's are the original pictures when, as a matter of fact, most of them are in the frame. That were there.
And your new apartment where you went, did you start going to school?
Yeah, but the thing was, I couldn't go anymore to a primary school. I was too old. I had to go to a school, like a high school type of school, and I didn't like being. I couldn't keep up. I had to learn 2 years to go back. Anyway.
Were there any other Jewish children in the school?
When at one stage I was going to a convent, a woman, you know, funny things come back. Somebody, Christian teachers came and picked us up to take us to school, but it was only for a little while. That's how I think I had books.
And the place where you went after the war?
Yeah, it was a flat, and there was nothing to put on the floor, so they painted, the floor was painted in a red color, remember.
And Anna, can I ask, when your parents found out what had happened to the other relatives, that must have been devastating.
What happened after the war, there was lists put up in different Jewish places that who came back and who and then people started looking for the people from Europe. Don't forget, we were liberated, but they weren't liberated yet. So
And did you have any idea what was happening in Poland or in the rest of Europe?
they must have been, because I remember my mother saying the Germans are killing us. That's why we were frightened of the Germans. that the Germans are killing the people in Europe. How they knew, I don't know. It must have been people, I don't know.
Do you remember when you were in hiding, did you ever get any newspapers?
I don't think so. Must have been, that woman may have bought papers. I don't.
And was there any
I really don't know.
was there any radio or any communication that you could hear what was going on in the rest of the world?
I think so. I don't know. I know that we weren't allowed to have the radio on. That if you put it down,
It was very dangerous.
Hardly hearing. You weren't allowed to have a radio. I know that. But if we had one there, we must have. I don't know. As I said, I don't remember a lot of things.
No, you're
Yeah,
you're incredible.
As a child, I wasn't interested. And then by the time I grew up and became interested of what happened, they didn't want to talk about it. Because they lost it. My father had 3 brothers. One was in Sydney, in Australia, in
Belgium.
In Belgium?
in Belgium with us. He lived around the corner. As a matter of fact, he should have lived, but because he was supposed to come and live where we were the first place in, and he was taken away, I think, the same night that he was supposed to come to us.
And when did your father find out that he was killed?
I don't know how, but everybody knew that everybody in the quarter where the Jews lived, that everybody was taken away. They came with trucks and with Germans and took everybody out from the flat, the Jewish people.
Did you ever go back to your original home?
I think so. First of all, the only shul we were going was in the street where we lived. So.
And after the war, you went to shul?
Yeah.
And was there a minyan? Were there?
Don't forget, people came back. First of all, people came. Come to think of it, they couldn't have come back at that stage. They must have come back a bit later. Because they weren't liberated in Europe yet. So they couldn't have known about it.
And can I ask, Anna, when you went to school, what school did you go to after the war?
After the war, there was a normal school around the corner from where I was.
A public school?
Yeah.
Was it co-ed or just for girls?
No, there is no, at that stage, I never even thought of a boys' thing. There was no boys in the school.
And were there any other Jewish girls in the school?
Must have been.
And did you make friends with the Belgian
I made
girls?
friends with the Goyim.
And they knew you were Jewish?
I suppose. So then there was no danger of being Jewish.
And did you ever have any anti-Jewish feeling? Or any anti-Semitism? Or it's amazing.
Don't think so.
And did anybody ask you, did the teachers ask you, or did your friends ask you what you did during the war, or that you were hidden? It wasn't discussed.
I don't think so. I don't think so. As I come back, I don't know. I don't think it was something you wanted to discuss. It wasn't something that had been pleasant or thing. So Why would I?
And what did you speak at home?
Yiddish.
But you knew Flemish as well?
No, I knew French. In which I don't remember now. Thanks.
And at school you spoke French?
Nowadays in Belgium, in Brussels, you speak Flemish as well as in Antwerp. But I don't know. You know, you're asking questions
I know it's...
from a child, which I don't know.
But when you went to school, you could communicate your French, you could speak French?
Yeah, with my brother I talk French. We talked, it's only my parents I talked Yiddish.
And it must have been very difficult being at school. You had missed 2 years.
It was very difficult. I never liked school after that. And I went to do commerce for a couple of years.
And your father, he managed to find work as a tailor?
Very much so. He was very much in demand. Because don't forget, there was nothing done during the war. Everything what the German had taken away. So after that, and we got my parents got a little shop. Must have been out, not where we lived, but somewhere else. And my father was working in the shop, and my mother was selling.
And Anna, after 45, when
in 45,
in 45,
44, yeah.
But in 45, when the war ended, the World War ended, and news came out what has happened in Poland. What happened when, did you remember your parents when they got the news about their family?
They were, how would you feel your parents got killed, your brothers got killed, and you were alive? Put yourself in there.
And you remember when they... Did your parents speak to you about it, or was it ever spoken?
I was a child in Belgium till about 16, 17 year old. You were a child. I suppose it's not anymore, but they didn't discuss it. It's only by hearing things that I knew things. But otherwise, you don't talk to a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. Or I was older, and I had to help already in the shops and in the helping, because my mother had to go to work, so I was helping. But
and can I ask, Anna, when you went to shul, to the synagogue, did you remember how it was before the war, and did you compare how it was after the war?
No, it was the shul was the same. The shul the people from shul didn't change. It didn't. The ones who came back, the ones who weren't taken away, were the same people. It's not.
And did you make, where you were living, did you make other Jewish friends? Did you have...
My parents were lucky. They had the friends from before the war, which must have been hidden as well. And they had, look, everybody had lost very close family. Everybody was... You talked about your family that you didn't come back, and you were hoping that on the next list they're going to be. There was lists put up every day, and people went looking for names. That's bad.
And your brother, he went to school, and did he?
My brother went as soon as the war finished. He was 5 years old. How old? He was, he was about 5 years old, Peter. Peter went to school, Sam went to school, and he's a farmer. He finished a pharmacy here in Australia.
So how did you manage to go to Australia? What was the decision to go to Australia?
My father wanted to go to Australia before the war. He had family there, a cousin of a cousin, and we could go. My mother didn't want to, because it wasn't a Yiddish. She had some family which went to Australia, and that family wasn't. He left his wife in Poland with a few children, and he disappeared. And my mother kept on saying, "It's not a Yiddish place to go.
It's not a Jewish.
It's not a Jewish thing to
environment."
Go. Didn't want to go. And after the war, my father said, "I am going. We are going to Australia. I'm not having another one." Don't forget, they had 1914 to 18, and then they had the 1940 to 42 to 44.
And was it difficult to get into Australia?
We got permission. You had to get permission. They gave visas out to permission to things. We got the permission.
Well, what year did you immigrate to Australia?
1950. We left 49 and we came in 1950 to Australia.
And do you
January,
remember?
I remember exactly.
Do you remember the trip? Do you remember leaving?
The ship arrived on Australia Day. And I thought they're making a big thing on Australia Day because the ship arrived. And I found out pretty quickly it wasn't. It was Australia Day. In Australia they make a big, at that stage they made a big fuss about Australia.
And Anna, can I ask, when you left Brussels, did you have, leaving your home, was it a bit difficult to know that you're leaving?
No, I was glad to get rid of it, to get out of there.
So how old were you at this time when you left, in 1950? How old were you, roughly?
In 50, I was 33, 14, 15 years.
Mm-hmm. And from Brussels, how did you get to the ship? And
oh, you took a train.
And where did the ship leave Europe from?
It was an Italian ship, the Sorrento.
And you remember the voyage?
It was 4 weeks. And we were mostly, what happened, it was all people going on, who were coming to Australia. Italian, Poles, not Russian, mostly Italian, Greeks, and Jews. And Jews, a few women, not me, I was a child, women went to the kitchen and asked the cook if they were allowed to cook themselves, get a new pot and get macaroni and lokshen, and they cooked.
Wow.
A few women took the kitchen over.
And were there many other Jewish refugees on that ship?
Yeah, everybody was a refugee.
But there were other Jews, quite a few other Jews?
Yeah.
And did you know?
There was a lot of them.
You knew other people?
We were a lot of people. There's people who are now that we're on the ship with.
And when you got to Australia, did your relatives come and meet you at the port?
First of all, they had to find a place for us to stay. As a matter of fact, the people who made the papers for us, we didn't know, because the person who made the papers that we allowed, they didn't have a place big enough yet to take a family of 4. So
did you have help from the Jewish community, or?
yeah, there was Mr. Brent. Oh, names I remember. They were helping if you needed help. My father, what happened is my father went nearly a year before we went, because he didn't want us to come and be in the street. He wanted he was already working, and he had a flat for by the time we came.
And when you came to the port, he was there to welcome you. And did you immediately go to Sydney when you came to Australia?
Yeah, because the family was in Sydney. Heavy.
Wow. And in Sydney, did you manage to go to school, or?
I was already 16 and I didn't want to go to school. And I had to help a bit.
And when did you meet your husband? How did you meet your husband?
At Banda Beach. The Jewish young people met on Saturday and Sunday at the beach. And we were a group of newcomers, and we were all together. We were friends for a long time.
And where did you get married?
In Sydney.
Do you remember the shore?
Yeah, oh, naturally. Central.
The Central Shore.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Central. Yeah.
And when did you get, and you still have, this is the original.
That is the original mine, and that's my father's. I haven't got my mother's. You can see I was born in
This is amazing. How did you get it? Your identity card?
The identity I had to have on me.
Was this when you left? When you
had an identity card.
It says you were born in 33
and in Brussels itself.
And I think this was issued in 48. I think they issued this to you in 1948. And did you manage to get a Belgian passport?
I went on a Polish passport. It's the only passport I could get.
So this is of your...
Because my parents were Polish.
And the Belgium, they wouldn't give you a passport?
They don't give a passport if you're not a citizen.
Even though you were born?
You can see it on
it
the
says
thing.
you were born.
It's written, should be written where I was born. Nee, here. Nee, which is born. Can you see Brussels?
Yeah.
On the first page there.
And Anna, you were happy living in Sydney?
It was the first time I was free, and I mean free. I don't know. That's how I felt. And I always felt, to me, Sydney Sydney is my home, not Belgium.
And there were many survivors that came after the war to Australia, and many to Sydney and to
every ship
Melbourne.
was full. There was a lot. There was a lot of survivors. Thank God.
And your parents, were a lot of their friends also survivors?
Mostly, yeah. The friends they had in Belgium, they communicated, they stayed there. Like they're very good friends. But otherwise they don't.
And
They made friends with the family and the people who helped us and gave us. That's all. That's my father. I think it's the picture that he made for the passport.
yeah.
And that's me and
a
my
picture of
brother.
your parents.
The uncle went to America. Say that.
Your uncle went to America.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture of the parents.
Yeah.
Why did your uncle decide to go to America?
He had, after the war, he went to the market to sell things. And that wasn't allowed in Belgium without a license. And he had a thing that he had done something wrong. So he couldn't come to Australia. Australia wouldn't take anybody with a mark on their name. And so he...
And you stayed in touch with him?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Helen, we went twice, I think, to America.
And
But
Anna,
there's nobody left from her.
Anna
He passed away, she passed away, and my cousin passed away.
This picture?
That's our whole family.
This is an amazing picture. When was this picture taken?
At my wedding,
At your wedding?
that was taken.
These are magnificent pictures. Wow. And Anna, if I can ask you, this is really when living in Sydney, did you and your parents, did you integrate with the Australian Jews? Or did the survivors...
Some of us did. Some of us did. It was, when we first came, we didn't. And I don't mean me, because I had straight away friends which were new Australians. But if somebody got married, an old Australian from a few generations got married to a new Australian, they weren't very, the people weren't very happy about it, because the foreigners weren't up to the standard of...
Could you feel that there was
but
a
we
division?
didn't feel it. I didn't feel it, because I didn't mix with those people.
And your children, did they integrate with Australian children?
My children, ask her.
Because sometimes it wasn't so easy. They were.
I don't think so.
We were all able to go to Moriah College. You were able to put us through the Jewish school, through Moriah College. All of us went there. My oldest brother, Peter, married
An Australian.
And you were happy with being married in Sydney, in Australia?
I was very lucky. I had a very good husband.
It's magnificent.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is your beautiful family.
Now, what is that picture? Is that the whole of our family? And you should see Pekanine Hall. Put the picture from the word.
That's wonderful. Oy. And it's growing and growing.
Hmm?
It's enlarging and it's growing.
We have, thank God, big family. My husband used to say, that's the know-how, do you understand Yiddish? It's the know-how that he has against the Germans. All the little ones we have. And he didn't have that many then.
It's a nakama and a nachama. It's a revenge and it's a comfort.
Yeah.
And if I can ask you, what message can you give or impart to your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, to the future generations?
To remember his grandparents.
But to your family, what message do you give after all you've gone through and all what you've witnessed?
They're having it now. They can see what's happening in Europe.
And
it's not, we're still not liked.
Did you ever think that in Sydney things would be like it has been in the last couple of years?
No. I really don't understand what's happening. And because we were so in between. I mean, we are separate because you live together, but otherwise we never, I don't think I ever had somebody that I was like...
You never experienced anti-Semitism?
I never
or
did.
Anti-Jewish feeling?
I never did.
And
I don't think the children did.
You happy you made Aliyah and you're happy you came to Israel?
Sorry?
You happy you came to Israel? That you're living in Israel?
When we decided, when my husband retired, he first retired halfway and then he retired properly, we sat down on a chair at the table to decide where we're going to live. Are we staying in Australia or are we going to Israel? And it was a decision we made, both of us.
David had made Aliyah in 1983 and he married Chaya, who's an Israeli. They're living here with their children and Baruch Hashem and their grandchildren. And I made Aliyah, this is Helen speaking, I made Aliyah in 1987. I married an American and we've both been living here, Baruch Hashem, with our children and grandchildren here in Israel.
And I've got Kenai Nahova. Thank you for helping me out because I couldn't find the words to say.
And we're still hoping that Peter's going to make Aliyah.
But you have a lovely apartment here in Jerusalem, in Hanof. And you know, when you see what's happening in Sydney and in Australia today, it's not the same how it was.
Australia.
It's so
I don't
sad.
know how the rest of our we've got rest of our family is still in Australia, and I don't know how they can stand it. But I suppose they live the way we used to, with in our little corner, and we don't see what's going on.
So at least you weren't in Australia when you saw all the anti-Israel, all the anti-Jewish
No, when I
protests
left, it was beautiful Australia. The kids still wanted to go. I don't know if they want to go now, but.
So now I just want to thank you. I am so grateful to you. This has been, it's been incredible, and your story is just full of just miracles, and that your mother decided to leave the home and the Jewish area to go to the suburbs, saved you.
My mother had.
It's like a nevoah. She had like a property.
Somebody pushed her. Somebody pushed her. My father. Even I remember my father saying, my wife has gone crazy. We live in a beautiful flat and here we are in 2 rooms. And he really he really thought my mother had gone crazy.
But that saved your lives.
And then
That's how.
it was the right thing to do.
I'm so incredibly grateful to you. There are no words to thank you enough. And Helen, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure being in your home and hearing literally miracles. It's very rare that a whole family survived the war, and that you were stopped by Nazis and they let you go and they didn't come back
That
for you.
was
That's
a
another miracle.
That was a miracle. To be left by Jacques, it was Jacques let us go.
That's amazing.
And I don't know.
And you know,
I have to.
we have to be so grateful because it's incredible, such a miracle.
That is
Wow.
that is
And
awesome.
another miracle is that you
You
came.
know, when we were walking and we got stopped, my mother said to her sister-in-law, you know, Anna is here, nothing can happen. And I couldn't understand what she meant, that I won't be taken.
Your mother, she felt it.
She thought of it, but it was a miracle.
And I just want to
Amen.
mention, and I think another miracle is that you weren't in Australia to see all these protests and all the anti-Jewish feeling, and you're here in Israel with your family as well. I think that's another miracle. It's a miracle being in this country. It's a miracle that we have this country.
That is the miracle, that we have the country.
Well, thank you so much. You should just... And Anna, could you give all of us a bracha? All of Am Yisrael a bracha?
Please God, we should all only be happy and be healthy.
Toda Rabah, thank you so much. Helen? Really, and you're amazing, and I'm so grateful to you. And you should just have mazel bracha at Maybe Stream in good health.
Thank you.
Mazel and bracha.
Thank you. On the Surrey, a year later than I came, so did she, on the same boat.
A year later, your husband came on the same day.
Exactly a year later.
It's another miracle.
Yeah.
So Anna, this is such a wonderful memory. This is when your husband turned 90 and you were 85. Your amazing journey. And if you can show us.
Open?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So on the pony, that's a picture of you on the pony and your husband on the bicycle.
On a bicycle.
And this is when you got married. What a beautiful picture. And
It's our wedding picture.
the picture was in color.
I think so. Yeah.
Anna, this is your husband. This is...
Yeah. We were married for
How many years were you married?
just a little bit. 67, 68.
67 years.
67 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is a picture of your family.
Yeah. my side of the family. That's my auntie, the one which was walking with my mother, with us. And that's Sammy. And my because I can't see. That's my cousin. That's me and my mother. And that's my parents.
And your parents were happy in Australia?
My father was very happy. My mother, I don't. I mean, she was happy. She had the grandchildren. But don't forget, they miss their families.
And here's the wedding invitation.
Huh?
With Mr. and Mrs. Rochwerger and Mr. and Mrs. Hershkovitz. Request a pleasure in company, Anna and Simon, and it was at the Central Synagogue in 1954. Such
Yeah,
beautiful
we even
pictures.
got my
It's beautiful.
and that's the whole family that was at that stage, and thank God. Take the picture though.
No, I'm not taking
No,
it.
because Peter David is not.
There's such beautiful pictures.
Yeah, they did a good job when they
It's
chose it.
magnificent.
They did it. That was our rabbi for the whole time we were
What was his name?
Abramson. He was that's his son.
I mean,
See,
That's enough.
I think that's enough. That's the babies. You don't want all those pictures.
Okay, so close it.
wow, thank you so much. And can we see the front page? That is, it's such a beautiful picture.
It
And on
was
the,
a wonderful.
it's wonderful. Such beautiful memories.
Here, do this one.
Oh, that's so special. Oh, yeah, this is the real Nachas, the real.
Yeah.
That was
and,
7 years ago.
and how many kids?
Baruch Hashem. Many more people have joined the family since.
And it should
Yeah.
just grow from strength to strength.
Amen.
It should just grow and wonderful. And you should have Nachas and Mazel and Brocha.
Thank you.